Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and once again I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Pac-Man World Re-Pac for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we have basically managed able to rescue Pac-Mom. In addition to that, we also managed able to take on the forms of Pac-Man. In addition to that, we received the good ending of the game. And on top of that, we also did manage able to fully collected everything. So as a result of that kind of stuff, though, it's a piece of cake in my regard. So today, for this video is going to be the final video for Pac-Man World Re-Pac. And because of that, we're about to show you guys some extras of how this game actually has to offer. Because as far as you can definitely tell right from the get-go is about the fact that we actually got a ton of points into our grand total score count. And as you can tell about the fact that we're able to get ourselves our special reward if you managed able to do something like this. So, but before we do all of that stuff though, there is actually the forms of that unlockable game you can able to unlock. That's what appears to be, of course, much like in any other Pac-Man games, you were able to actually unlock the original Pac-Man arcade game. So as a result, it plays pretty much exactly like the forms of how it does in the previous games, except now that with the forms of the different borders, as you can see on screen. In addition to that, about the fact that we can now able to actually play two-player alternative way for likely taking turns or something. Well, mind you, it's been quite a few days since actually coming back into this game, because as you can tell about the fact that recently we've actually been busy playing through, like, not only for the likes of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom again, but also about the fact that, well, you probably named the rest of it though, so yeah, it's just the arcade version of Pac-Man. So yeah, it's actually a pretty nice way to able to have a nice alternative way to able to actually play the good old classic Pac-Man. So yeah, there's not much right to hum about. So, because as far as I've heard about the fact that there's also yet another version of the arcade version of Pac-Man, thanks to the forms of Pac-Man Museum, specifically alongside with the forms of the Plus variation as well, because I know for a fact that it does manage to contain the exactly the same character models as the forms of how it does it for, well, again, it's a bit tricky to explain, honestly, because either way. So yeah, basically you have to able to eat as many of those Pac Dots as much as you can, and once you eat all of the Pac Dots, then you move on to the next. Now, for what I've heard about the fact that for those of you who ever played the PS4 version, or the Xbox version, or heck, even with the PlayStation 5 versions, that basically there was actually a trophy/achievement for it, and that is about the fact that you need to reach for about stage 9 or something like that. So yeah, that's what I can really say about it. Which I highly doubt, I don't know if I can able to do it for this version right here, on the Switch version most likely. But as you can tell about the fact that you can able to actually insert the coins, so that you can potentially try to able to play arcade Pac-Man at any time. So as you can tell, I'm not very great at Pac-Man personally. That's just because I'm pretty much used to with the actual maze sections in the actual Pac-Man World games, including Pac-Man World 1, including a remake, and World 2, and World 3. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it though, despite you do have to utilize the actual live system as far as this is concerned, when every time you get killed by the actual ghosts. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So either way, I'm just going to show this off briefly. So not much else to say about this for the most part, and I think you're able to actually start all over again, if I'm assuming so anyway. So, although I may be wrong, but either way, though, that's not much right to hum about when it comes to that. So, it also shows you the forms of the game's description for it, thanks to the forms of the game info option, that you can able to check it out. So, either way, though, that's all I can really say about the forms of the original mode as far as this is concerned. And also, as you can see on screen, that we actually stumbled across into ourselves a nice little jukebox, which I'll explain more now in a moment, because as you can see that we're about to able to show you guys the forms of, because as you can see that we actually stumbled across into not only ending 1 but also ending 2 as well. Ending 2 represents the good ending. Now, this time around though, I'm actually going to be showing you guys the bad ending of the game. So, although aside from the fact that the scene plays out exactly like the good ending, but there's slight alterations. Although, the ending itself plays out exactly the same as the forms of how it does it from the best ending, except the noticeable differences this time is that, potentially speaking, in addition with Pac-Man is eating Orson, just like the forms of how it does in the original version of the game, but also out of nowhere, that the rest of the forms of Pac-Man's family has been freed immediately afterwards. And in addition to that, none of those ghosts have been invited. So as a result, that's the only major difference between the bad ending and the good ending. So because of this though, yeah, it's basically identical depending on what specific completionist you go through. So either way, I obviously have no idea why they attempt to do that, but either way, that's just the way of how I feel about it, I guess. So anyway, so the next thing we'll show off, it appears to be buddy forms of those other remaining mazes that we can able to go to. Because normally we've already tackled through most of any other mazes during the course of the actual main portion of the game. Like, for instance, in during the forms of in the first world, basically we've already come across into 2 mazes already. But as it turns out, there's actually 4 more mazes that we can able to tackle through. And as far as any other worlds are concerned, we've already done 3 mazes for certain other worlds. But then as it turns out, there's actually more mazes to come. Because in order able to fully 100% complete the entire game of Pac-Man World Re-Pac, is by simply not only you have to able to collect every single of those Pac-Man letters in each and every single level. In addition to that, I'm pretty sure you do need to able to complete all of the bonus areas in the game, I'm pretty sure. In addition to that, about the fact that you do need to rescue all of the Pac-Man's family and stuff like that. In addition to that, about the fact that you do need to able to, well, I would say get every single gold crowns, I'm pretty sure, because something tells me about the fact that, again, I'll explain more details on that in a moment, because as you can tell, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's day is, of course, the 29th of June today, and in some cases, though, in 2023. So as a result, we're getting very close to July. So because of this, though, I can't believe time flies all of a sudden, especially noticeable again every time. Oh, that was a bad start. Oh, and by the way, the good thing about this is, though, it's about the fact, though, you remember I got myself 122 lives at this point? Every time when I do get died, or every time when I died, by default of those any kinds of ghosts, thankfully you can able to actually die as many times as you wanted to in this particular portion of these maze segments. Aside from the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, though, the only thing it does matter to you is that you need to complete the mazes as normally. So I don't think the score will able to count to actually count up your grand total score until you're able to get yourselves a nice special reward. If you manage to able to have some bit of struggles with the actual, like, you know, the fruit doors or anything else like that, well, that could be a hint for that particular topic for later. So either way, yeah, as a result of that kind of stuff, though, that's as far as I can say about the actual mazes themselves. I mean, usually sometimes, though, about the fact that they do come across into the forms of different layouts and also just different amount of hazards you have to able to stumble across into. I mean, sure, we've already come across into certain hazards already during the forms of the 5th stage on the forms within the pirate area world. So, yeah, you probably get the gist of it, though. So, anyway, so a few things I want to explain when it comes to this particular topic, and that is about the fact that apparently, though, Among Us is actually getting the animated series is in the works, apparently. So, gee, no wonder why that game is actually going to be potentially becomes a lot popular now, thanks to the forms of not only a lot of merchandise, but also with the forms of a lot of memes and all that stuff, and potentially speaking, though, despite the fact I still haven't tried out Among Us, because I've heard about it, but I've never actually played it for myself, mainly because it's not my cup of tea. So because of this, though, yeah, I've got no words to say about that, especially that, well, potentially speaking, though, about the fact that we have no idea when that's going to be releasing, though, and apparently, though, about the fact that, well, in addition to that, there's actually a new game just recently came out during the forms of today, actually. That's what appears to be the Medium. So as a result, but there's one little drawback with this, though, at least specifically on the Switch version, most likely. That is about the fact that, similar to the forms of how it does it on any other, like, modern Resident Evil games, like specifically Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake, and especially noticeable with the forms of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil 8 Village. Unfortunately, though, the Medium game on the Nintendo Switch is basically cloud version only. So you know what that means is about the fact that you have to able to do a lot of streaming stuff to do or something like that, or potentially speaking trying to able to cope with the forms of the sluggish internet connection, which as a result, this is a perfect example of why that I'm basically going to be skipping over purchasing the Kingdom Hearts games on the Switch just because of all that stupid cloud streaming services. Like, it still is a pretty bad idea when it comes to likely doing that decision. It's understandable for Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's massive and everything, but when it comes to other games like 1.5 plus 2.5 remakes, I just really wish if they were able to release that in publicly, so because of this though, I was able to experience the game on the go, with all its fantastic titles here and there, including buddy forms of Kingdom Hearts 2, my personal favorite installment of the series, but still, it just feels, you know, a missed opportunity when it comes to the forms of that particular, well, space limitations or anything else to be more likely like that, so... But I digress. So as you can tell about the fact that I believe we have basically done every single mazes in the actual pirate ship area. So now we can move on to the ruins area. So that way we can only tackle for 3 remaining mazes and stuff like that. Now if you're probably wondering about the fact that what happens if you do manage to able to complete every single maze levels in Journey forms of any other worlds for that matter. Basically, you were able to actually unlock the marathon mode, where basically you go for the exactly the same mazes again, but in one singular playthrough. So because of this though, I found this to be a little bit easier for me to do, especially because about the fact that the lives, as you can tell, that thankfully it does somehow manage to able to get refreshed. Well, keep in mind though about the fact that if you dare try and manage to able to try out marathon mode, which I'm actually going to be skipping marathon mode for the time being because I'm also able to do it on my own time. So, and I think the only reward you can get, assumingly of course if you manage to able to play the PlayStation 4 or 5 versions, including Xbox One and Xbox Series X versions, basically you get the achievement or trophy. So that's literally about it. So as far as I'm aware, on a Switch version, just does absolutely nothing. So in terms of like unlocking stuff. So it's just for bragging rights, I guess, because it's kind of unfortunate about the fact that unlike in the you know, the original version of the game, you do get yourselves an extra content, like the actual museum selection or something like that. And as far as I'm aware about the fact I do miss the old days, where basically you get yourself some cool rewards in the original version of the game, like for instance you're able to see some concept art, as well as the actual video of the interview of how Pac-Man World was created. In addition to that, with the forms of the outtakes and bloopers, if you managed able to obtain, you know, every single Pac-Man letters in the, you know, every single level in the game. So, I have no idea why they managed able to remove that in this particular remake, though. I'm guessing they're trying to make it a little bit more very simplified or something like that. Well, keep in mind, though, it's been about 2 days ago since I've played this game, so... yeah, you probably get the gist of it. And also, keep this in mind, is about the fact that in terms of the forms of the uploading schedules update as far as this is concerned, obviously Sonic is going to take a break on Sonic Frontiers for a short amount of time, especially because, well, I'm sure that he'll explain more details about that particular topic, until specifically by the beginning of July, especially notable because, relatively speaking, despite the fact that he did manage able to practice the forms of, trying out DLC update 2, so as a result that he did manage to test it out on not only on the Switch version, but also on the Xbox One version, just before he decided able to tackle for the PS4 version for, you know what I mean, jam-packed full of content that he's pretty much going to have to focus on, so... And as far as I'm aware about the fact, I don't suppose that Sonic Frontiers Let's Play won't be, finished anytime soon, just because thanks to the forms of sudden, you know, free updates, including buddy forms of the third and final one coming up, that basically tells about the fact that we have no idea when the Sonic Frontiers Let's Play will be finished by then, before we move on to, the next Sonic projects for our Let's Plays department, like, for instance, with Sonic Superstars, alongside with the forms of maybe some other redo Let's Plays or something like that. Like, let's just say, for instance, about the fact that we might be able to actually decide to do a redo Let's Play of Sonic 06, because, while looking back on the forms of Sonic 06 on our Let's Play channel now, that it's fine for the most part, despite the fact that the beginning portion does have a pretty muffled, commentary with our voices and all that stuff. And that could be also applies for Sonic Mania as well, if I was assuming so anyway. But either way though, let me know in the comments down below. So either way. And potentially speaking, I was just about the fact that I was still very surprised about the fact that we've never actually tackled any Mario Party game as a Let's Play department for this year so far. Mind you, because about the fact that they still have no idea they're about to able to decide to do DLC for Mario Party Superstars, but still, it might be a bit too late for now because I'm pretty sure they're going to be focusing on something else. And unfortunately, though, is about the fact that everybody wants to Switch is going to be releasing tomorrow, which, to be honest with you, I'm still going to be skipping over for that game. Especially that I've looked on the actual trailer, or should I say the final trailer, before the game actually comes out tomorrow. Basically, though, I'm immediately disappointed. Especially, like what Sonic or I have briefly mentioned about this already, that it feels like about the fact that everybody wants to Switch is going to get a lesser amount of games compared to the forms of the original. And on top of that, I feel like the presentation of the game just feels a bit pretty lackluster and lacks any sort of charm to me, especially how stilted it looks. Especially noticeable because in the actual track in, let's just say a relay race minigame, that basically the visual presentation looks so static. Like, as a result, all it shows us is just the actual racers, and that's all there is to it, without any sort of animations at all. Like, I just felt it's a bit of a lazy excuse. Well, I will say though about the fact that until at that time, that recently Pikmin 4 just recently came out yesterday, specifically Pikmin 4 demo. Now, I haven't tried out for myself though, mainly because I'm still waiting for the actual game to come out. Just because about the fact I do need to get some bit of practice for, first of all, we need to be able to realize about the fact that since that Sonic Frontiers update has already came out, that obviously about the fact that I'm busy playing Sonic Frontiers at the moment right now, for not only on Xbox One, but also on the forms of the Nintendo Switch version as well, so I can able to see what really happens if you do manage to able to complete all kinds of stuff here and there. So, despite the fact that with the forms of how the fact that sometimes, I'll admit though right away, the momentum feels a bit weird at points, especially noticeable if I was trying to obtain, you know, new Cocos and all that stuff, but either way, that's as far as saying goes. So, anyway though, there's another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that, potentially speaking though, is about the fact that recently yesterday, we were able to actually receive 4 more Sega Mega Drive / Sega Genesis games coming onto the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. And it's actually quite of an interesting selection actually. So those are Ghouls and Ghosts, which is actually a pretty interesting choice, and as well as from that, because obviously about the fact that since that we've now, I'm pretty sure we've got every single Ghosts and Goblins games on the Nintendo Switch Online services right now. Like, I know for the fact that we've already got Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, and I'm pretty sure we've got Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo, I'm presuming so anyway. So now we've actually got ourselves the Mega Drive game based on the forms of Ghosts and Goblins or something like that, like Ghouls and Ghosts. So yeah, that's actually something. So, and the next game after that, which appears to be The Revenge of Shinobi, which is actually a pretty good choice, because I almost assume about the fact that they're most able to like bring back Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or Sonic the Hedgehog 3 or Sonic the Hedgehog no, what do I keep thinking about? I keep thinking about the forms of the Game Gear stuff, because as a result, that the Game Gear stuff is probably not going to be coming anytime soon, at least if I was assuming so anyway. So, anyway, what I meant to say is about the fact that with Sonic and Knuckles, and especially noticeable with Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, because these are the only Sonic Mega Drive games are the only ones left, in terms of the forms of the NSO expansion pack. So, I mean, it might seems a little bit redundant, I will admit though right away. Well, I will say about the fact that if it does come out for its fruition, then that makes it a little bit more interesting. Although, to be fair, that we've already got Sega Mega Drive Classics compilation on the Switch since, I would say in 2019 or something like that, or 2018 to be more specific. Mind you, it's been a very long while since I actually double checked on the actual release dates between multiple versions or something like that. So, anyway, that pretty much takes care of everything for the space area, so now we can move on to the funhouse area, filled to the brim with a lot of clown stuff, and you name the rest of it though. So, anyway though, the next game after that, which appears to be Land Stalker. Alright, that's interesting. And finally, Crusader of Senti, I think that's what it says anyway. So, yeah, pretty mixed lineup, especially noticeable that the good thing about this is, though, is that we finally got Revenge of Shinobi, so you can finally play the game on the go, or anything else like that. So, assuming, of course, about the fact that, at least the good thing about this is, though, unlike the cloud streaming services, that you do need to acquire internet connection. So I can assure you with the forms of the expansion pack, maybe potentially if you try to play these games on solo, then basically you could potentially try to able to experience those games on the go. Well, assuming if you do able to actually purchase the actual streaming services or something relates to that, so... But I digress. Oh yeah, and I recently managed able to realize about the fact that there's actually a rumor, or a leak has been going on, about the fact that there's going to be yet another Nickelodeon game is going to be on its way. Seriously, it doesn't take that long to able to actually get one of those Nickelodeon games released one after the other. Because I know for a fact that we've already got the third entry in the series when it comes to Nickelodeon Slime Racing game or something like that. So as a result about the fact that they did say that they're about to be working on a potential of a sequel to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. And I was like, okay, this is getting a bit interesting with all these continuous sequels is about to be releasing. I'm guessing probably because about the fact that after that particular point where you know, the original game has been finished with the actual DLC and stuff like that, so they're potentially trying to able to make even more characters in a sequel. So, gee, it never ends, doesn't it? And I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be releasing on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One for that matter though, because after all about the fact that they're just going to be focusing on the next generation of consoles, including the Nintendo Switch, because still, Nintendo Switch is actually not going to die anytime soon, because obviously we've now got jam-packed full of games now during the forms of 2023, but I'm still very excited with those, including 2024 as well. So either way though, that sure is a sight to behold. So, but either way though, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be true or if it's potentially going to be false. So it's hard to tell for this point. So anyway, so the next thing I want to mention is about the fact that while this is going on, I recently double checked on the forms of the gigabyte storages when it comes to the upcoming Nintendo Switch games. Specifically, you know, based off of the likes of the forms of the most recent Nintendo Direct as far as this is concerned. Oh man, there's actually quite a lot I can probably mention. First of all, with the forms of Star Ocean, the second story R is probably potentially going to be the biggest games when it comes to gigabyte storage they're able to contain, and that is going to be able to have like 13.7 gigabyte storage if you try to purchase the game digitally, and the second one goes to Detective Pikachu Returns, like it costs about 10 gigabyte storage, assuming of course if you buy the game digitally of course, and third place goes to Super Mario RPG, with it does have 8.0 gigabytes, so potentially speaking, because everyone else has been hyped about the forms of Super Mario RPG Remake, myself included. So, and also there is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is expecting to be on 4.5 gigabytes if you purchase the game digitally, and Sailing Era is 7.8 gigabytes, and Suicide Guy The Lost Dreams is going to be 3.6 gigabytes, and Burnhouse Lane is going to be 2.1 gigabytes, and Deadliest Catch the Game is going to be 1.8 gigabytes, and as well as that, What It Drew Record Game Studio Battlefield is going to be 2.1 gigabytes, and Abandoned Ship is going to be 1.8 gigabytes, and strangely enough, WarioWare Move It is about to get 1.5 gigabytes, so, and on top of that, Manic Mechanics will able to get like 1.4 gigabytes, and A Tale for Anna will be 1.1 gigabytes, and The Lost in the Wicked is going to be 910 millibytes or megabytes or something related to that. There's also some other games I could possibly think of the top of my head to able to actually just try to able to guess how much gigabytes they're able to contain, but honestly I think I've lost count, so I apologize for that. Oh yeah, recently about the fact that for those of you who lived in the UK, basically Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Destiny has recently came out today, or recently yesterday I should say, during the course of in the UK version, which it seems kind of odd because normally about the fact that it was supposed to be able to be released at some point by the end of this month, specifically the 30th of June, but as it turns out about the fact that the North American version is going to be releasing by the end of June instead. So as a result, it was expecting to able to release at some form or another, so... And as far as I'm aware about the fact that I've seen the reviews of the film, despite the fact that I still haven't seen the film yet, but I'm curious to check it out. So as a result, it's actually gone pretty decent as far as the review scores are concerned. I'm not exactly sure if it's like higher up compared to the films of the 4th entry in the series, or potentially speaking somewhat of a lower rating, but I suppose I was able to double check on that, or potentially speaking if Mario or Luigi will mention more about it at some point whenever they go back onto Mario Super Sluggers during the films of this particular weekend coming up. To be more specifically, by the beginning of the next month, which appears to be July, so... yeah, not sure it's something, so... Anyway though, yeah, because as far as I'm aware about the fact that some people seem to able to be a little bit worried for a moment when it comes to the films of the box office at the moment, because it seems about the fact that after the events of Elemental, despite I still haven't seen the film yet, because obviously that film is not going to be released in the UK version, it is supposed to be able to actually going to be releasing at some point on the 7th of July in the UK version, despite the American version got the film first. So either way, though, it's a bit of a confusing marketing strategy as far as this is concerned. I mean, it's kind of like the exactly same situation as in most of those Pixar films in the past, like, you know, with Toy Story 3, Cars 2, Brave, Monsters University, Inside Out, you name the rest. Speaking of which, though, is about the fact that you guys ever remember seeing WALL-E in 2008? Well, apparently, though, that film has been turned into 15 years old just recently, for about 2 days ago, actually. And whenever I look back on the film, it still looks very impressive, even to this day, especially when it first came out in 2008, a year before Up, and a year after Ratatouille. So because of this, though, yeah, I would love to be able to rewatch that film again, because it's been a very long time since I actually have last seen the film since, well, since 2008, or 2009 to be more specific, because whenever I managed able to got the film at long last, back in Christmas 2008, unfortunately though, it does come with this very awful tatty cardboard sleeve, which as a result, I'm very appreciated I finally got myself the actual DVD case instead. Because obviously with the cardboard sleeves, it tends to able to break after a while. In addition to that, the discs were able to get scratched more often. So yeah, that's why I'm not a big fan of those cardboard sleeve variations of certain DVDs or games or anything else like that. Because sometimes it just feels kind of reckless or anything else like that. So, but I digress. So yeah, it's nice to see about the fact that with WALL-E's now going to be 15 years old, which has already been a thing. So either way, I suppose next year it will be Up's turn. So because of this though, yeah, I guess as far as I can usually talk about this. Although, speaking of something related to Indiana Jones, I've noticed about the fact that Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the 4th film is called, by the way, because it's been a very long while since I actually have watched Indiana Jones since, well, surprisingly, the 4th entry in the series. So, yeah, because as a result, that film is also going to be 15 years old as well, and exponentially also along the same lines as Kung Fu Panda, eventually by that time later this year, and exponentially same applies with Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa, despite the actual confusion name. So, but either way though, that's saying something I suppose. So, anyway, so there's another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that for what I've double checked on the forms of certain glitches I found on the original Pac-Man game, between 3 versions to compare, that it seems about the fact that, for what I've noticed, unfortunately though, the crushing glitch, still exist on the Switch version. So as a result, in the GameCube version does have it, and the Wii version does have it as well. So it looks like the Switch version also has that. So I have no idea why they still have not fixed that issue. Especially because concerning of all that particular point that I was really looking forward to able to playing those two games on the go. Well, I'm still waiting for the physical release, but it might be seems a bit tricky situation for me though, because since I've now got the Wii version of Pikmin 1 and 2, and at the same time about the fact that certain treasures in Pikmin 2 does manage to contain the original branding as far as product placements when it comes to certain treasures. So I'm guessing the reason why about the fact that on the Switch version of Pikmin 2 no longer has a Duracell branding with the actual battery items is most notably because of the licensing department. So yeah, it seems that the original charm has been gone. Although, to be fair though, the charm is still there on Pikmin 1 and 2. But aside from that, it's just the branding items is no longer present for the original versions, including the Wii version, because, well, as far as you might as well able to notice right from the start though, is that the Switch version of Pikmin 1 and 2 are basically based off from the Wii version, because thankfully there is actually gyroscope controls, but you do need to able to activate that during the pause menu and stuff like that. You can't able to actually set that up on the options menu, strangely enough. I mean, sure, it's a bit weird at first glance, but either way though, despite the fact that I haven't exactly tested out the thing yet, but either way, because I'm still waiting for the physical version to come out, because I think that reminds me of something. Imagine if the physical version might contain not one, but two game cards all in one particular physical version or something. Well, it's hard to tell honestly, because although it might do the exactly same formation, as in you guys even remember, I believe, the forms of this infamous release of Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition trilogy. That's basically about the fact that it does have multiple glitches or technical issues when it comes to the forms of 3 games all in one game card. Well, I'm sure we'll find out later on, specifically on the September 22nd, that the physical version might still release during that time. So anyway though, so as you can see, we've now managed able to complete every single mazes, and as you can see, we've now got a marathon play, which basically you experience the exactly same mazes again, but all in one particular playthrough. But then again, I'll do this on my own time, especially because I don't want to make the video super duper long. So the next thing we'll show off is the jukebox, where basically you can able to listen to all kinds of music at any point in the overworld. But keep this in mind, in order to able to get this jukebox, by the way, you need to buy this as DLC, which that could be also applied onto one of those cosmetic characters as far as this is concerned. So basically you can able to listen to all these music throughout the game, including there is actually some music based off from the original version of the game as well. Like for instance about the fact that there is actually the forms of, well, certain music like the original version of, I would say by the forms of one of the second levels in the game, as you can see. Like, for instance, about the fact that, oh, there was also We Are Pac-Man theme song is actually on there. So either way though, yeah, it's actually pretty cool that, oh yes, there's also the another version of that particular song as well, depending on what language you select. So because of this though, and also there was actually a nice little Pac-Man tropical icon or anything else like that. Again, I apologize for my comment tag is a bit iffy at this point, because let me tell you, that's as far as I can usually try to discuss upon new forms of certain news and discussions alike, but I'm sure enough that we'll let Sonic were able to actually mention more about it, or potentially with Mario or Luigi will both mention more details onto the actual topics of Mario Super Sluggish during that time. So anyway, so speaking of which though, is about the fact that let's go ahead and showcase off the next thing we'll show off. That's what appears to be the special item you get if you manage able to reach a certain amount of total score. Because as far as you already know, since that we've actually reached for about 700 or 7,006,000 points or something like that, basically about the fact that you give us a special award known as the Magic Key. And basically what this does is that if you're having, oh, what the heck is this thing? Basically, this one appears to be by default of the cosmetic skin based off of Metal Pac-Man. So it's more likely like a chrome version of Metal Pac-Man or something like that. and that also needs to be purchased, by the way. Although there's nothing different about this thing, aside from the fact that it's just the actual cosmetic skin, and that's all there is to it with this particular DLC skin and stuff like that, which you can able to actually choose the actual setting on the actual options menu and stuff like that. So I guess that's all there is to it. So, but I digress. So yeah, if you ever come across into the forms of those specific fruit doors, as you can definitely tell for about a few seconds ago, basically this allows me to able to unlock every single doors without needing to worry about obtaining all these fruits and all that stuff. So you can potentially try to activate all this stuff at any point. So, but again, in order able to actually get the magic key, you need to get yourself a grand total of like 7,600,000 points or something like that, even though I can't really tell of the actual math, by the way, because, well, I seemed able to lose track of the forms of certain score tally, so I apologize for this point, folks. So, either way, I suppose the last thing we'll show off is that if we go into the first level in the game, basically though is about the fact that we can now able to see the actual the title card of the actual loading screen or something like that. And also that we're also able to... Oh, darn it, I forgot I can't skip the sequence. Oh well. Because as you can see, I'm actually going to be switching over to easy mode, where basically it's about the fact that I'm pretty sure what easy mode does is that I'm pretty sure about the fact that it's pretty much identical for the most part to the normal mode, except if you're trying to able to perform, you know, the hover ability, basically you can able to hover even more, even much longer as a matter of fact. So that's all that really does. So either way though, yeah, there's not much else to it with easy mode, because let's face it though, we've already completed the game in normal mode. So it's a shame there's no hard mode or anything else like that, unlike the forms of how it does on the Klonoa remasters, that basically if you complete the game on normal mode, like it doesn't even matter if it's either Klonoa Door to Phantom Isle or Lunatic's Veil, basically you do have the ability to unlock hard mode, where essentially it does have some different difficulty curve. Like you do have one hard, and also the reduced damage, or just potentially gives you a lot more damage input, and on top of that, just anything else in general, which, again, we'll get into more conversation once we get into the forms of those two games or something like that. But then again, though, time will tell, especially noticeable because, as a result, that we are potentially going to be finishing up with this game right here. So, because I'm sure enough, though, about the fact that once you get 100% completion done, then obviously you get yourselves a glorious crown in the actual file selection screen. So as a result, yeah, there's not much else to say about this, I guess. So yeah, let's give my final thoughts of Pac-Man World Re-Pac while I was going to be able to experience this level for... Actually, no matter what, though, I think I should probably just go ahead and finish the level or anything else like that. So, anyway, so for my final thoughts of Pac-Man World Re-Pac, as far as this is concerned, I think this is actually a pretty dang good remaster remake as far as I can usually recall, because first of all, I really love the visual presentation, despite the fact that it feels a bit odd at points, and on top of that, the soundtrack is so good, just like the original PlayStation Classic, and on top of that, the controls are super massive improvement all in all, and in addition to that, the gameplay is pretty much a familiar Pac-Man world we all expect to know and love. And on top of all that stuff though, this game is super duper fun to play. Despite that on the Switch version runs at 30 FPS and stuff like that, which has always been a little bit of an odd way to noticing this. But as a result, unlike the PS4 version or the Xbox version, runs at 60 FPS. Oh, there was actually a star right there. Okay, I did not expect that. So, either way though, that's pretty much about it, I guess. So, I suppose the only gripe I have with this game though is that this game is super duper easy, way easier than the forms of how it does in the original version, that's for sure. And on top of that though, I just really wish if they were able to bring back the actual voice acting on certain cutscenes, but it's not the end of the world personally though, it's just for a minor nitpicking aside of things. So, and I suppose that's pretty much it for Pac-Man World Re-Pac. I hope you guys are able to enjoy this particular playthrough, because I surely do as well. So this is me, Pac-Man, from the likes of the Mexi Toys. And until then, I suppose we're able to stay tuned for Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness. Not exactly sure when that's going to be up though, but we'll stay tuned for that. So see you guys soon enough, or anything else like that. Bye.